What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So we got some major news here. The United Kingdom is offering troops on the ground to Ukraine here. And does this mean NATO is entering the war? I'm going to give you guys the details of it here in this video. This says war is literally the topic of the month, of the day, of the year, as many people are really wondering, is World War III upon us? Will this ever end? If you've seen my previous video, President Donald Trump just deployed 4,000 troops here yesterday in a somewhat different fashion, and the National Guard here in the United States. So that is of concern to a lot of people. I'll link you to that video here in a moment. You guys can watch that next. But honestly, you got to wonder here, is Putin actually going to end this war? That's really a lot of concern to a lot of people. And now the United Kingdom is offering troops in Ukraine, which is part of NATO. And the United States is part of NATO. So let me give you all the details here. Let's jump right in. We are live right now here on the YouTube It's Jimmy Show. Let me know if you can see and hear me. Type yes in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. You can let me know your city, state, or even your country, as we have people tuning in here from all around the globe. Don't forget to hit that like button for me here. And if you haven't yet, subscribe down below so you don't miss out on future videos and help me reach 500,000 subscribers. You guys are amazing. Okay. So, take a look at this, and then I'll let you hear from President Donald Trump here as well, as stuff is really getting crazy here. The United Kingdom to offer troops to defend Ukraine's skies and ports in Pentagon's talks. The United Kingdom is part of NATO. And remember, there's the NATO pact and the NATO treaty that says if you attack any part of NATO, that all of NATO will attack back. So think about that. Now, officials say the United Kingdom is not prepared to deploy troops to the front line with Russia. So, I mean, I get that. As head of armed forces prepares to meet U.S. counterparts in Washington. But the UK does say they're prepared to offer troops to defend Ukraine's skies and ports. Wow. This is getting wild. The head of British Armed Forces will tell his American counterparts the UK is prepared to send troops to defend Ukraine's skies and seas, but not the front line with Russia, as planning intensifies for a post-war settlement. Tony Radakin, the chief of defense staff, will, on Wednesday, attend meetings at the Pentagon, decides to finalize what 30 different countries are willing to commit to Ukraine's national security. They're expected to confirm the United Kingdom will provide soldiers to help with logistical support and training, but not deploy them right close to Russia. Officials have been talking about deploying as many as 30,000 troops to protect Ukrainian sites. But that has been scaled back amid opposition from some European countries. One British official says Wednesday is a really important moment. Nothing happens in Washington without the president giving the green light. So Trump is giving his support to security guarantees on Monday, kickstarted a lot of activity. You can see here another headline. Trump has promised Ukraine security guarantees. Trump has promised Ukraine security guarantees. Here's what they could look like. The most significant result for Kiev and Europe was that Trump said security guarantees for Ukraine would be provided by European countries with coordination with the U.S. Take a listen to what President Donald Trump has to say here today.
President Trump making major progress toward peace and high-stakes talks with Ukrainian President Zelensky and European leaders in the Oval Office yesterday. Look at that picture.
President Trump also confirming a meeting between Russian President Putin and Zelensky is in the works before he hopefully meets them together.
And joining us now on the phone with more details, the President of the United States, the 45th and 47th President, Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, thanks so much for joining Fox and Friends this morning.
Good morning. That's quite a crew. Well,
Mr. President, the whole world was watching yesterday as you got leaders from the European Union, NATO, as well, from all over the world. How did you get them to Washington, to the Oval Office, so fast?
Well, I think really they have respect for our country again. A year ago, they wouldn't have come. They wouldn't have even thought about it. Now, we've become the hottest country anywhere in the world. Everybody wants to be here. When I made the call, they came. And they said there's really never been anything like it. You know, you'd have one president or one prime minister, but there's never been, such a group. And these really represent the European nations, these people. And they're very good people. And they want to end the war. That horrible war with Ukraine and Russia. It's a horrible war.
It was such a sense of unity, and we all enjoyed watching it because America is on top, and it was on your turf, on your terms. I know yesterday you talked about arranging a meeting to take place in 2 weeks between Putin and Zelensky. Is there an update there, and do you plan to attend?
No, I thought I'd do first let them meet. You know, they haven't been exactly best friends. They haven't gotten along very well. And I called President Putin yesterday, and I do have a good relationship, but it only matters if we get things done. Otherwise, I don't care about the relationship. I do have a good relationship with him, but I want to get things done. You know, I've solved 7 wars. We ended 7 wars. I thought this would be one of the easier ones, and this has turned out to be the toughest one. India, Pakistan, these were big ones, and also all big ones, and some going for 31, 32 years, one for 35 years. The Congo, think of that, the Congo and Rwanda for 35 years. I got that one done. I got them all done, but this one is the one that is the most difficult, and I thought it would be an easy one. So I hope President Putin is going to be good, and if he's not, it's going to be a rough situation. And I hope that President Zelensky will do what he has to do. He has to show some flexibility also. The thing is a mess. This was started by Joe Biden. This was a war that should have never happened. Millions of people are dead. The country's blown to pieces, Ukraine, and it's a shame. You know, my wife Melania wrote that beautiful note to President Putin about children. The children are devastated. They're taken away from their homes. The whole thing. And this is a war that would have never, ever, ever happened if we had a real president.
So, Mr. President, it's been barely a week since you announced that first meeting in Alaska, and it's just been days since that meeting, and then you had the meeting yesterday. In the course of having these negotiations, what has surprised you the most between Zelensky and Putin in terms of their strength or weakness of their position right now?
Well, I think the fact that maybe they're getting along a little bit better than I thought. Otherwise, I wouldn't have set up the 2 meeting. I would have set up the 3, a trilat. But I think they're doing a little bit better. There's been tremendous bad blood. And again, this was all worked out by an administration that didn't have a clue. And if you remember, they said, well, if you made a minor incursion, that would be okay. That was the end. The whole thing when Biden made that statement. But minor incursion, what does that mean? So I think they're doing okay. I wouldn't say they are ever going to be best friends, but they're doing okay. And we're just going to see. So we're setting up a meeting. I sort of set it up with Putin and Zelensky. And, they're the ones that have to call the shots. We're 7,000 miles away, in all fairness. We've spent through the previous administration $350 billion. Europe has spent a lot also, $100 billion, but it should be reversed. If we should have been in for anything, but it wouldn't have happened. So that would have been much better because so many people died. This is the biggest bad situation since World War II. There's been nothing even close.
So, Mr. President, I know you've been doing deals your entire life when it comes to real estate deals, but this was something a little different. The thing that is surprising a lot of people is when it comes to the security guarantees. I know President Putin said, no NATO. And you said, we're just going to take that off the table. But you did get President Putin to agree to NATO-like protections. So tell us about that. What does that entail?
Well, the war really started over NATO and Crimea. And they wanted Crimea back. That was given, not a shot fired by President Obama in perhaps the worst real estate deal I've ever seen. There's been a couple of them. I would say the Gaza Strip was a pretty bad one, too. Given by Israel so they'd have peace. So they gave away a big percentage of their oceanfront property in order to have peace. How did that work out? Not so good. And Crimea is the apple of Ukraine. I mean, it's so beautiful. And Obama gave it away. Nobody ever mentions that. If I ever did that, the fake news would be, they would be writing about me day and night for years. He gave it away. He demanded that they let it go. And Russia came in and took it, just took it like from a candy from a baby. And it was really Obama's, not really, I mean, that was pure and simple, Obama's fault. What a terrible thing he did to that country. And so they lost their heart. They lost the heart and soul of the Ukraine 14 years ago, whatever it might be. And it was so unnecessary to do that. And that's when it really began, when Obama gave it away. And then you had a lot of other events, but you have, tremendous hostility. The people of Ukraine were mortified when that took place. That really began a lot of hatred when they gave it. And they didn't have to. Not a shot was fired. They just took over the most valuable piece and the biggest piece in a sense and surrounded on four sides by ocean, just a little passage to get you back onto the mainland. The most beautiful piece of property you've ever seen as a real estate developer. I look at it, I said, why the heck did he do that to them? And so there's great hostility, and maybe rightfully so. But one thing was NATO. They went in. They said, we want you. We want to get Crimea back. This was at the beginning. Now Putin, in all fairness to him, he made a good deal. He got it from Obama. But they said, we want it back, and that was not exactly well received because it was like 12 years before. That's where Russia has its submarine base, and that's been there long before Putin. They've been there for a long time. But long before Putin. And the other thing they said is we want to be a member of NATO. Well, both of those things are impossible because, again, long before Putin, it was a no-no by Russia or the Soviet Union or anything you want to call it. Sort of a similar thing as it gets larger, but very similar. But it was always a no-no. You could not. Russia said we don't want the so-called opponent or the enemy, let's use that term, we don't want them on our border. And they were right. They were okay. And yet they went in and they asked, with the United States, they said, put us into NATO. And everybody knew you just can't do that. They would never have agreed to it. This is before Putin. This is long before Putin. It was just a no-no. It was something that was never going to happen. So they asked for it, and they shouldn't have asked for it because it was, very insulting thing. Now, they could have asked for many other things. But the other thing they wanted to do is getting Crimea back, and, that was given. They had built, they were expanding everything and spending a lot of money.
Now, the French President Emmanuel Macron hinted that, quote, the first security guarantee we are working on is the most important, is a strong Ukrainian army composed of several 100,000 men, well equipped with defense systems and higher standard. Quote, the second is to have reassurance forces, the British, the French, the German, the Turks, and others ready to carry out these operations, not on the front lines, not in a provocative way, but reassurances, operations in the air, the sea, and on land. The goal is to send a strategic signal. Peace in Ukraine is also our concern. Now, when you look at some of these things, it almost looks like more of an escalation than a de-escalation and an end to the war. You guys can let me know your thoughts on this. But having British, French, German, and Turks and others carry out these operations, and the UK saying that they're going to offer troops to defend Ukraine, it looks like we're taking a next step into the war if Putin doesn't end the war ASAP. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please share this video with your friends or anybody that needs to know this, and share this video on social media so more people can get this information. If you haven't yet, subscribe down below and click the bell icon so you get notifications when we go live, which is normally at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as of course it's free to subscribe and help me reach 500,000 subscribers. Click here to see why President Donald Trump is deploying 4,000 troops in this video. Or click here to see why people are boycotting Walmart. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next